done speaking here, I'm going to be heading over and joining actually something with the health center. So I'm helping them with some stuff, and I also am on the community council board and a few other things.
Okay, great. Tyson.
Hi, I'm Tyson Kopp. I'm president of the newly formed Walla Walla Summer Theater Group and artistic director of Walla Walla Performing Arts Company.
Great. I hope you're going to include some musicals in what you do.
It's going to be all musicals. I might just do a musical right now.
Okay. Leah.
I'm Leah Wilson Velasco from the Walla Walla Symphony.
Mr. Jameson.
John Jameson, the Walla Walla Piano Group. We have a piano for use by nonprofits. Just need to look us up on the webpage.
And then Nathan.
I'm Nathan Womack, operations coordinator for Walla Walla Chamber Music Festival.
Okay, great. Thank you all. Tricia, I think the first item of your agenda was an update from Rechna on our conversation.
What I actually want to do, because I had like a reminder to send this out to everybody and to add Jim Wilson to the thing, and I forgot. How do you like that? I mean, I was so organized that I was unorganized, but I promised him that I would move him to the top of the agenda so they could give a little report on where they are, and then they can pop up or stay, okay. Either way.
Okay, it's your agenda. I'll let you handle it.
No. Just,
okay, Jim.
I screwed up.
Well, we'll jump right in then, and again, thank you for connecting. And this is one of those things that I think a lot of us have had kind of our eyeballs on what's going on in Fort Walla Walla with the amphitheater, and so I think you've heard a little bit perhaps about the effort that really was led by Tyson here in town initially starting last summer, and I joined really just a few months ago. But it's pretty exciting because we are really moving forward with this. So again, anchored with the Walla Walla Summer Theater Group as a new organization that would be focused on bringing in high quality professional paid theater to in more of a summer program, a whole summer season to the Walla Walla Valley, and having that be something that would be kind of along with the mix of all the other arts and wine and everything, be something that would be a reliable tourism and local showcase throughout the summers. So that sort of as the idea, and then also recognizing that there is a lot of history with the amphitheater, but it's really laid fallow for a while, and there was really an opportunity to say that could be the space that really could be the home for this theater group and this program. And I apologize for my dog in the background. You must have seen a squirrel. So if that's not too loud, I'll just carry on.
Fine.
Actually, I'm going to grab him real quick because if I change his scenery, he's okay. 1 second.
Hi, Kendra.
All right, here's the fierce creature. So with all that said, we are in a situation where we have done the preliminary proposal responding to an RFP by the city, and that has been approved by the Parks and Rec Board earlier this month. And we will be presenting to a working session of the City Council in the next Monday, with the idea that the board will consider this proposal that we've put forward next Wednesday at their regular City Council meeting. And with all of that said, the idea is that this will be something that if we're successful in getting fundraising going quickly, we'd be prepared to hopefully open in a phase one, sort of looking at sort of 3 major phases of development, but phase 1 as soon as the summer of 2024. And then sort of beginning to get things going. And with the idea that it's a space anchored by this summer theater group, but of course, one where we would not only welcome, but really encourage all other arts organizations, high school, college, all of you to have another venue that could seat up to 1,200 people that we could be part of our seasons and available to perform. And that's the sort of quick, so there's a lot involved in it. We're really at that very early phase. And again, from what the city council action will be is really, again, directionally, we're in the process now of getting kind of the final, what would the contract look like? What would be the contingencies of moving forward with this project? But something where we think this could be a pretty special showcase for Walla Walla, where we use this venue and this new summer theater program as something that would really be just enhance this overall collective that you all have begun with to enhance overall arts for Walla Walla Valley, again, both for residents and for tourism. And with that, I'll pause, maybe give Tyson a chance to say, hey, Jim, you missed a few important points, but then invite any questions that you all might have.
No, Jim, I think that was a very good overview. I think that the finished space will seat about 1,500 once we complete the design. So that's just one adjustment. That's still a very large outdoor theater space, but actually I think pretty intimate as far as amphitheaters go, which actually, part of our design concept is to make it feel even more like a little bit more intimate space than it is now, and to really bring it up to a level of facility that can really accommodate performances in a much more successful way. I don't think it was ever designed with the idea of doing theater in mind long term. It was sort of like a fairgrounds meets performing arts space. And so we'd really like to make it a state-of-the-art facility that we can really utilize across the community and invite and be proud of bringing just everybody from across the region to come and participate in and have a great experience out there. So I think Jim laid it out pretty well. It's a pretty good synopsis. So yeah.
The only other thing I would add as I'm thinking about it too is just really providing some premium experience as well with some actual boxes, private boxes that would be built not in the initial phase, but in the third phase, where it would be both for providing great experiences, but also for revenue generation. Because what part of what we see for a venue like this is important for it to be sustainable in terms of income. Both for the organizations that participate, but also for the venue itself. And so really upgrading the overall space to have that more of the availability of kind of a premium experience, and then extending even the surrounding grounds with the sculpture garden, potential for food trucks and other sorts of things, really making it a place that could be a real gathering place for both the performance as well as before and after.
I have a question. What was the capacity, or what is the capacity right now if somebody were to go in and do something?
1,400. So part of what the plan involves is just adding a few more seats to sort of surround the stage and kind of shrink the focus area of the stage a little bit more. That's kind of how all great amphitheaters are built, is sort of with this sort of, singular focus. And there's still plenty of space to do any kind of staging or production out there you want. But because Trails West was such a big Western rompus, shoot 'em up, bang, bang, horse and carriage sort of production, they needed all this extra space to run horses across and bring horse and buggies across and do all kinds of Western type things. So it's not necessary anymore to have that infrastructure. And actually it's kind of awkward to be in some of the more audience forward seats looking back at the side stage. That's something a lot of directors and audience goers have commented to us over time. So that's something that we've considered in the redesign of the space. Yeah. So there'll be a few more extra seats, a little less, stage space.
So go ahead, Bob.
Gentlemen, when would be the earliest that an organization might be offered the ability to rent that space for performance? What would be the absolute earliest?
Probably the spring of 2024, when we were kind of looking at starting a season. It all depends on that's when we anticipate an opening being, the theater being even available to let audiences in. Because right now it's completely dangerous and condemned space, honestly. Needs to really have a lot of work done. So, yeah.
I was going to ask, how many offices do you need and when do you need them?
Yeah, that's a good question. That would definitely be something I think be interested in, because it's going to take quite a bit of personnel and infrastructure to get an organization of this size, as you can imagine, supported. We anticipate growing, probably over the first 5 to 10 years pretty significantly. We'll probably start with 1 or 2 productions in the first couple seasons, and then grow up to as many as 4, or even 4 with some supplementary festival smaller productions. But yeah, that would be great to have, I don't know, 4 or 5 sort of admin spots for people to sit and do their support work. That'd be awesome. And we would also have some out there as well that there'll be a box office, and as long as it's air conditioned, I think it'd be an okay place for somebody to work for a while. Yeah.
It looks like Leah has her hand raised with a question.
Yeah, I'm curious about, is the theater group going to be a nonprofit, and what the funding structure between the city and the group is starting to shape up and look like?
Yeah, when we were starting to look at doing this project, we did consider sort of every model. It's like, could it be done as a for-profit? Could we get investors? And because of the structure of the space, the city will never sell the space, right? So you're kind of investing in the long-term leasing of the space. So I think, our agreement is going to be something like, we'll provide the capital and do the work to bring the space up to a level that can be opened back up to the public and used again. For, I think it's a 20-year lease probably is what we're going to end up at. So the only really successful model that we came up with was the nonprofit model, because it's just not going to be a significant, money-making project. It's more of a community-wide, arts institution. But as part of that institution, one thing I feel really passionate about as an artist, a professional artist myself, and coming back to Walla Walla, is there was a sort of culture for a while, I think, and there even still is, that actors and artists should kind of work for free. And I kind of want to get away from that and sort of value the time of the people that are spent working out there. So while we say it's going to be a sort of semi-professional theater, it won't be equity, at least for many years. Maybe 1 or 2 equity guest contracts would be really cool to bring a really seasoned performer in from time to time, but it won't be, equity contracts across the board, because so many seats would be paying $700 or $800 a week per person, But we just want to make sure, if people there are so many talented people in the Walla Walla community, people that have grown up, come through here, gone on to do great, amazing things on Broadway or in other cities, and would love to come back and have a place to perform. We want to really value and encourage them to see their time, to be paid, and to be everyone's, to feel supported in that way, and not just sort of asked to volunteer hours. It's a lot of time, and people do put a lot of training and effort into, like musicians and everybody else that spends a lot of time honing their craft. They deserve to have, their time compensated. So that's our goal. I feel strongly about that. I don't know if that answered your question. I kind of got off on a tangent, but it's going to be a nonprofit organization. The city probably is under no obligation to commit anything other than the space. Yeah.
Have you already formed the nonprofit?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
We formed it back in November, and we are just still waiting for our final confirmation. I'm hearing these days it can take a very long time to get the federal
501c3.
Yeah.
We actually got ours pretty fast.
Oh, good.
Yeah, surprising. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I want to say it was like 3 months or something like that. It was much faster than they had said we could expect. So.
Did you were you able to do the simpler version? Because I feel like because the organization's over a certain amount, we expected to raise, we had to do the elongated filing.
We did the longer version just for knowing down the road it would be better to have that designation. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Jim or Tyson? Oh,
Hopefully
great.
there will be a stage here coming up soon. We'll be able a lot more public information available. We don't want to get out over our skis just yet, but we find that there probably is some symbiosis between what y'all are doing and what we're doing as well. So we just want to stay in touch, and we thank you for listening to our plans. So.
And I do think that the other thing that I want to make sure that we listen to even after this is, are there concerns? Are there ideas? This isn't meant to be just our thing. We really see this as being something that's for the benefit of the community. And while it can't be simply, a pure collective, we're not opening up the board for 20 seats and that sort of thing, but really looking at saying, making sure that we are listening to and collaborating with all of you. And then also, perhaps as we move forward, looking for words of support, maybe even helping with some of our fundraising efforts, with some of your performances, et cetera, that might be around this special space that we hope to create as sort of this enduring new thing. So we'll be looking to collaborate further very soon as we move in these next few weeks towards sort of finalizing things with the city and then building our plans moving forward. And we've already are working on those the larger fundraising plan for federal and state funds, as well as some of the foundations and individuals. So we've got quite a bit of things in work already that we're really just waiting for the green light we hope to get as soon as next week. But again, along the journey, we look forward to both connecting with you and relying on you some to help support this project.
And I'll just add to that as well. In preparation, we only get a chance to design and rebuild this thing once. So I've been kind of going around and meeting with some of the leaders, like some of the leaders of the dance companies in town and other arts organizations, just to say, what could we be doing to support the work, to best support the kind of work that you do. So if there are things that you say, you might keep this in mind when you design it, like for instance, the ability to have some kind of shell or sound system, for like a symphony performance or something, we only really get the chance to do it, and we want to do it well and right and accommodate as many things with foresight as we can. So please feel free to reach out if you have comments on how we could best support your specific organization's mission. So
looks like John has a question, and then Rechna.
Yes, I just want to say to Tyson and Jim, check your chats. I've sent you some ideas about that. So didn't want to take up everybody else's time with it, but check that and get back to me. Thanks.
And I just wanted to say, yeah, I appreciate hearing about it, because I think in Walla Walla, sometimes a it tends to be that a lot of people are doing the same thing separately, and that leads to competition. And I'm a grants person. And as I'm hearing you guys talk about grants, we're a pretty small community. And so if there are multiple people applying for grants, potentially the same ones, we want to kind of be aware of that because we don't want to basically cannibalize each other. So if there's opportunities to collaborate on funding strategies or grant applications and figure out ways to work together to be more strategic, we're a small enough place that I can see that sometimes if two organizations in Walla Walla apply for the same grant, they're only going to give it to one. And we could potentially be stronger and more competitive if we combined forces. So just keeping that in mind because the missions are so similar.
And I would also like to say that we would love to have you join in our monthly calls, which are have transisted from during the pandemic time, just staying connected and updating. But we are now starting to move forward with this shared space for the arts, which is more office, multi-use, boardroom, those kinds of things. And if that becomes a place where you could house yourselves for some period of time or forever in terms of administratively, we're really getting into more of the nuts and bolts and have a space identified potentially. So we'd love to invite you to come to these meetings, and I'm certainly available, or I'm sure one of us on the board would be happy to sit down and give you more information about how our project has moved forward and what we're intending to do.
Great.
Yeah, thanks for that. We certainly I've sort of observed some of the things that you've done, heard a little bit about, and even that initial research that y'all did. We read that report pretty closely, and it really feels like this has a place kind of within that, satisfying the needs identified in that report. Probably, Tyson, it might make sense that I'm kind of the person tapped for our group, at least initially, to stay connected. Certainly, I think it does make a lot of sense for us to stay in close proximity and join in on that monthly call.
I promise I'll put you on the list.
That's okay. I nudged you. We got it.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. All right. Did you want to go back to your regular agenda, Tricia, or?
Sure.
Okay, I guess Rachna's up then.
Okay, thanks. Tricia asked me to lead it off, but I think there are a bunch of other people on that call who may know maybe a little bit more than I do. But I will attempt to kind of start things off. So we met with Annette Roth, who is the Arts Commission representative for this Department of Commerce Building for the Arts program. The legislature has approved the next biennium, so most likely this Building for the Arts grant will be offered, and the RFP will come out in the next, she said, month or so, with a deadline probably in August for funding in a couple of years. I think it takes about I think 2023 is what she said, that the funding would be available. It is for nonprofits who have to raise a pretty significant amount of matching funds for a building or creative arts project that 50% of the building must be used for arts related stuff, and the building must have some public access. So whether to nonprofits or to like the public, the general public. We can raise the matching funds and costs incurred are eligible retroactively. So we might be able in our proposal to include any costs incurred on the renovation of our building back to either 2020 or 2019. And similarly, any funds that we have gathered in kind or fundraising can go back retroactively as well. We have to have a feasibility study done, or the owners of the building do a professional feasibility study, and they're going to evaluate the readiness of the project and the capacity of the organization, nonprofit, to be able to carry out their mission. And I guess one of the key things also is that because we are not the owners of the building, we have to be in a long-term lease of at least 15 years. Is there anything else I'm forgetting? Annette was, I guess one of the things is Annette was pretty excited about our opportunity, about the fact that someone from Eastern Washington was going to apply, because they haven't had any applicants from Eastern Washington, and they're very concerned about equity issues. Pretty much all the other last biennium grantees were all in King County, basically. So I think that gives us, they do a point system. So I think being on the east side gives us like extra points already. So that was one thing. And from everything she said, she was pretty enthusiastic about our project. That's about all I can think of. I don't know. My personal questions were, do we have the fundraising capacity? And how does that work? Do we have the ability to get this long-term lease? I guess those were my two main questions.
The other things that come into it since we do have an outside developer who this one particular space we're looking at, because the building is older than 50 years, we have to have an archaeology review. So that would need to be done most likely by David Thompson. And for any of the work that's being done on our project that we're applying for the funds, what's ever included in our portion of the project needs to be paid at prevailing wages, which is clearly, I'm sure, different than what David pays for a lot of his work being done. I have had a conversation with his property manager about those two things, and they don't scare them off. So, and they're both very interested. David's out of town for like 10 days, but they're both very interested, and I've given them sort of the links to the state website about learning more about it and figuring out how they can partner with us to put a portion of our project into a space where you could apply for that grant and help lower their costs, which would then potentially or pay for a lot of our internal tenant improvements, so that we don't have to pay for them, or we're finding funds to match or in-kind funds. So anyway, they're pretty positive about wanting to be part of the process.
One thing is the grants are, it's limited to capital improvements. Could not be for, like a copier, desks, conference room materials, things like that. Can cover wiring for internet and all that, since that's built into the project. Okay, well, I guess in a sense, it's going to depend a lot upon David and whether or not they're willing to jump through those hoops or not, because it isn't being the state, it's not simple.
So, Rachna, I'm curious from your perspective, because I've had these conversations with you about other state grants, which they all require a fair amount of jumping through hoops, but often you're jumping through hoops to get $1,500, where this can be up to, I don't know, up to 2 million, but it sounded like probably we would be more likely like a third of that, but it could be a significant 6-figure grant is what I heard. So being somebody who writes grants like that, do you feel like jumping through these hoops is worth it and something that we should be at least investigating more seriously?
I don't know. I mean, it's sometimes with these, it's not the application, it's the post-award follow-up that is more challenging. I mean, my biggest thing is, yeah, do they want to enter into a 15-year lease with us, the developers? So these are, I mean, just the questions like, we're nobody, we're unproven, so if all of those requirements are met and the developer is happy to, follow those things, as I think, yes, then it would be fine. My concern would be like the fundraising part of it. The match, which was it was a 4-to-1 match, I believe, or 3-to-1 match.
3-to-1.
Right? 3-to-1 match.
Oh, wait, no, they changed it, I think.
Yeah, I think it used to be 4-to-1 and now it's 3-to-1. So it's less. But where's that money coming from? I think the thing that makes me most nervous is that, first of all, the deadline will be August. You have to have a plan for your fundraising. And then you have to follow through. So you can say a whole bunch of stuff, right? But then you actually have to do it. And so it scares me to think, first of all, where is the money going to come from? How do we have a fundraising plan? I mean, they specifically ask, has the applicant secured all the funds needed or made substantial progress in an active fundraising campaign dedicated to the project? And while some of the in-kind stuff that David, would put in, I don't know any of the numbers yet. I guess I'd want to see some numbers. We don't have a fundraising plan. We don't have a donor base. We don't have a plan. We don't know what we want yet. It's really early.
Yeah.
So I was a little surprised. I mean, I had a lot of questions and concerns, and I was really a little bit surprised that Annette was so, yeah, you guys are great. I think this is a great project. Because I'm like, do you know that we've only been in existence for like 6 months and we don't have any kind of track record, or we don't really know what we want to do? We barely can agree on how many offices we want. I don't know. That all makes me nervous just for the timeline. Because, I mean, should we get, multiple kudos for being in Eastern Washington and having a great plan, and they were to give us, $500,000, and therefore we have to raise $1.5 million. Where does that come from? What are we going to do? Who's going to be in charge? How are we going to follow through? Because you don't want to screw the government with the not being able to follow through with what you're going to say. All that stuff scares me. The application's easy. I mean, that part's simple, but it's like actually doing all this stuff and meeting all the deadlines at the end. That's just me, though.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you. Although we did ask the question very directly about new organizations, and when you read the information, they are trying to support those kinds of organizations. So
new organizations, I think, are fine as long as you have a plan.
Yeah.
Right. And also, I will say that she's the arts person. Her job is to get more arts organizations to apply. She's not commerce, the numbers people. right? So I would want to hear from somebody on that end. Like, do you really have all of your T's crossed and I's dotted as far as being able to fulfill the requirements of the application grant?
Susan has a question.
No, I just have a comment, even more basic than the concerns that Rachna has raised is the fact that we have not had buy-in, official buy-in from any organization into this project. So, I mean, how could we actually apply for this grant, seeing as how we're still waiting to know how much it would cost, which organizations would buy in? So to me, it seems like really cart before the horse.
It's a good point.
And I'll just say from a grants perspective, people get really excited about free, quote, free money. You know, oh yeah, grant, it'll pay for stuff. It's never free money. It's never, ever free money. You get yourself stuck in a contract that you are required to fulfill. And if you can't, you're screwed. So I run into this a lot. It's like, oh, we should definitely apply, you know, we should apply. We need money, we need money, we need money. You can't apply unless you absolutely know what you need the money for, that you can actually use the money, that you can meet all the criteria. And I don't know, some of you others, you guys might be very familiar with grants as well, but that always just annoys me when people say it's free money, we should do it. We'll just get it, it'll be easy. It's never easy.
Right. There always are downstream implications,
Mhm.
even down to, you know, having to set up separate funds and separate fund accounting, and, you know, it's not simple.
I just think also it's a little premature. And I think we will get dinged. Even if we did apply this August, we would get dinged by the fact that we don't, well, first of all, I don't know what the budget is. We'd have to figure out what the project budget is. But then if we don't have a fundraising plan to raise 3 times as much as we're asking for, I don't see how they would even consider that. And I'm not sure that Annette got that part of the fact that we don't have a fundraising strategy or plan or anything. And as Susan said, we don't even know that the organizations themselves are contributing yet. So
Right.
I would say, and I think when Leah first mentioned it, I was thinking we could maybe be eligible in the next cycle. So that would be 23. But we would have a better plan, and we would be a more stable organization by then with better sense of where we're going.
Well, we probably should, since our time is, we're running a little bit short here, maybe move on. Tricia, you want to give us what David is up to?
He is really moving forward with a lot of the infrastructure. He's totally gutted the whole upstairs so that there are no walls in the front of the building. So that whole space is now totally open. And as he's thinking about the space for us, he really sees actually changing his thinking from our group being in the back of the building, which sort of has an odd sort of diagonal couple walls in it, to being actually in the front of the space. There, for those of you that have been in it, they're going to close down the stairway that goes from Main Street up into the second floor. So that leaves sort of, so he's thinking of half of the upstairs space, but all in the front of the building. They would replace all the glass blocks and open up all the side windows in that space. So the glass blocks would become windows, and would make the space, I think, much more efficient to be able to sort of build the boxes within the box. to be performance spaces and maker space and storage space and office space. So I actually think my perspective on it is that it's a better space for us to be up in the front of the building. It would still have that side, the elevator and stairway up would still be on the same side he was talking about it being in. And we would still be able to get to outdoor space. So really the change is sort of moving our whole group up into the front and having much more efficient space to plan. So that's sort of where they're at right now. And I think that he feels like he has the information he needs from us. And so he'll be getting more space planning sort of stuff done by his architects. So that's
Okay.
what I know.
And then quick update on the creative district.
The city, both cities, College Place and Walla Walla, and Downtown Foundation and Art Walla submitted a letter of intent to be considered as an LOI, and we are in the process of scheduling a site visit for the same Annette Roth to come over and see the district. They're not opposed to having this combined district, but it's something they've never done before. But there's nothing in the law that says you can't do it. So they just have to open their brains up a little bit more and see the site, see the district. And so she will be coming over probably sometime in June and visiting for like a day and a half. So sometime in her visit, it might be interesting for our group to actually meet with her.
That would be great. It also occurred to me during the conversation that this project with the amphitheater is going to help that, help them see the potential for the creative district.
Yes.
I actually think that project is much better fit for the Building for the Arts program as well.
Yes, that thought crossed my mind as well.
And this is why collaboration will be valuable and important.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so time for monthly updates. Shall I just pick on people? Susan?
I just got back from New York City, so I'm just trying to acclimate. So, yeah, and we're planning for next year's programming. Everything that we've done in our dabbling phase of our first year of our strategic plan, and the COVID reality has been extremely successful, so we feel really good about that. So successful that a lot of it looks like it may continue to carry on. So, so yeah, I'm a little sleep deprived, but it's all good. Yeah, that's just real quick update for me.
Remember our spring appeal, Susan. Spring appeals coming up.
Yes, spring appeals coming up first week in May. Stay tuned.
Okay. Gary?
We are getting ready for closing in on our May 1st concert. March mayhem. We're going to let them have it. And Mill Creek Jazz Band is performing as well. It's our final free concert of the season. And the board decided masks would be optional, but we are still checking vaccination cards. It wasn't a unanimous vote as far as the board goes, as you can well imagine, but we want to close out this season in as safe a manner as possible and call it a success. I just want to thank Rashna for your information, a good reality slap in the face, because it is easy to get wrapped up in the money coming in. And I think we're at the point where we're still trying to figure out what we want to do in the space and throwing measurements out and things like that. So my personal feeling is I don't think we're at the stage, the thought of pushing this forward in the next few months is, unless there are a lot of money people waiting with their checkbooks. So that's where we are.
Okay. Leah, did you?
One thought that just occurred to me is, Rachna, you were saying about the Building for the Arts grant program. And I recall this too, where some expenses would be eligible in a retroactive sense, even as far back as 19 or 20. And I'm thinking about the next biennium. So we wouldn't be able to apply until, would it be like this time in 24 for the 25 to 27 biennium? But maybe there would be an opportunity there for the retroactive expenses to go back, the 3 or 4 years, similar to what this one is doing. So waiting until the next cycle could make a lot of sense. Sorry, that was formulating in my brain. And while I'm talking, Symphony's last concert is coming up on May 3rd. It's our final concert of the season that we've called Crescendo, where, each concert's gotten a little bit bigger and a little bit more kind of back to quote unquote normal. So we are planning on being in Cordner. I know that Whitman has just changed their COVID policies again and is doing masks. We don't know what that means for us yet. So we will see and continue to abide by the regulations as we get them. But here's hoping everything continues to go well. So that's where we are.
Okay. Bob.
Well, you only have 4 more weeks to get tickets to Good Vibrations, people. We're almost sold out for Sunday at Gisa, and Monday's looking like 230 or so already have sold. We've carried over since 2020, so some people have been very, very patient. Good Vibrations, all 60s music in period costume from the Little Theater of Walla Walla. And I'm Gary Gemberling's risers and platforms. So it's going to be quite a new piece of staging for us as well. But I can't tell you, after 2.5 years, what excitement there has been at rehearsals. And the sound is magnificent. We've been rehearsing without masks because all of our singers are vax-proofed. We will be following the Gisa Powerhouse Theater's protocols. So whatever they are at that time is what we will be having in the audience as well as us on stage. We're hoping to sing it without masks.
Great.
So that's it.
Good luck with that. Are you going to be wearing bell bottoms or?
I have a rust-colored leisure suit with a lime green shirt. If I came and looked in your closet, Blair, I bet you I could find something like that.
No.
Anyway,
but, leisure suits are more 70s. So.
No, we went back and did the research. So we'll let you go a decade and a half if you'd like. So.
Okay. Tricia.
Well, Art Walla has started. The First Friday art tour is starting in April. So we had our first Friday and have a number of venues throughout the area that are participating. That will slowly get up to speed, and we hope that by the summer we'll actually be scheduling some performances musical or choral or whatever as part of that event, but it's too cold right now to do that. So, and we did just make the decision that Art Squared is going to be live this year. So it's a little concerning for us, but we sort of got squeezed into a box with Kavu and what they're doing, and we couldn't use their space for the 6 weeks that we were storing all of our artwork up there, because they're starting to book big events and there's salsa dances, and so we are going for it. So we'll see where that leads us. We're trying to come up with ways to maybe spread the crowd out a little bit, but over a couple days, but hope that everybody will still support it.
Great. Well, I think the last thing we need to decide is next month's meeting, either the 9th or the 16th. Both are Mondays.
The 9th would take us back to the regular second Monday. The 16th is sort of more in line with a month from now.
What do you say, Bob?
I would prefer the 9th because the 16th is a performance day for us.
Okay.
Do you think you'll have information from David by then?
I can, I'll have something. I don't know how much it'll be, but.
Okay. Everybody else okay with the 9th? Yep. Okay. The 9th it is. Anything else for the good of the order? All right. Thank you all for your time. Things are getting more exciting, aren't they? All right. Well, next month.
Thanks, Blair.
Thanks, Richard.